Question is that this bill be now read a second time, and I call the member for Kennedy.
The Speaker's supporting this bill. I don't know, maybe the education system doesn't have Brave New World or 1984 on their reading lists, but in Queensland, up until the 90s anyway, I can assure you it was on the reading list, and every child, young person in Queensland had read Aldous Huxley's 1984, the other way around, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World and George Orwell's 1984. And the characterisation in all the movies that have been made about these two wonderful books was Big Brother is watching. Big Brother is watching. You people are advocating that Big Brother is watching. And these people will win the next election. These people will win the next election, and you'll see what it's like when they have access to every movement that you make. Every movement that you make. Now, unlike you, I happen to be a very strong trade union man, and we've had to have discussions in situations that were very, very prickly. And they didn't want to see, and I didn't want to see, anyone looking in on our discussions. But no privacy now. You've taken our privacy away. And I sat in the room when we were assured that the gun laws would not interfere with your personal freedoms and your right to protect yourself in your own home. Well, we're now putting before the Queensland Parliament castle laws, which has been the law of the British tradition since Magna Carta, your right to protect yourself in your own home. The Liberals are not voting for it, too scared, and of course Labor is opposing it, as usual. And their concept is, the three famous assurances. I'll respect you in the morning, checks in the mail, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you. Oh yeah, I'm from the government, you can trust me. The gun laws, a government authority can walk into your home anytime they like. Anytime they like. So, did we lose our rights to privacy, freedom, and British Englishman's home is castle? Of course we lost all those rights. On Telstra, I said, you've got to be joking, Mr Prime Minister. If you privatise Telstra, how the hell are we going to get services in our little towns and in our station properties and remote areas, mining? How are we going to get coverage? And the Prime Minister assured me, and he's a very good man, John Howard. Please don't interpret my remarks as being critical. He's a very good man, a very good Australian. But all the same, he said, no, Bob, we're putting universal service obligations in there. Well, go and tell that to the people in Julia Creek or the people in the Gulf country what use the universal service obligations are. If you trust the government with your freedoms, you are a fool. And you betray the people that you represent. And that not one person in the ALP has had the guts to stand up on the issue, and I would suspect that many of them are not on side with this proposal. Many of them are not on side with this proposal. Having said those things, Mr Speaker, freedom is a real issue in Australia today. I had my grandchildren coming up a few years ago, and I said, oh, beauty, I'll get out the air rifles, we'll shoot a few toads. And my wife informed me that boys below the age of 13 or 15 or whatever it is are not allowed to use any firearm whatsoever. Oh, yeah, but this is an old 70-year-old air rifle. They're not allowed to use them. So that freedom's gone. For every generation of Queenslanders that lived in a small town, he had his air rifle, and later on he's 22. Well, that one's gone. I said, all right, well, I'll take, set up the Flying Fox, and zoom, splash in the swimming pool. She said, now you've got to take the panel off the fence, and if you take the panel off the fence, that's illegal. Oh, yeah, but they're not going to inspect, we're out of town, And she said, they came and inspected last week, and they informed us that our fence was 2.5 centimetres below what it should be, and they want the whole fence replaced, had a cost of $3,500 to have the fence replaced. Oh, that's not the end of it. I said, all right, well, we'll start work on the second stage of the treehouse. Kid fell out of a treehouse in Brisbane 2 months ago, and treehouse is banned. So, treehouse banned, you know, granddad's air rifle, 70 years old, banned. I'm shooting toads. Not allowed to use the swimming pool. So, all right, I said, all right. We'll just go down the flat, we'll boil the billy. The most iconic Australian scene is boiling the billy. And we should teach all our grandkids how to boil a billy and make a bit of damper. And my wife said, no, you have to get a permit to light a fire in the open. It'll take at least 3 months for the permit to come through. Free country? Free country? Free country? You people in this place and the state houses have never understood freedom. And you've had such an abundance of freedom in this country that you have a cavalier attitude towards it. And you're going to pay you're paying a terrible penalty. When I get government officials can walk into my house anytime they like, I'm already paying a terrible price for freedom. Now, every single school child in Queensland was made to read Aldous Huxley and George Orwell, 1984 and Brave New World, because it is an important part of your understanding of freedom. It is an important part. And that was why it was on the reading list for every single kid that ever went through schooling in Queensland history. Now, you people, either you don't understand it, you don't read it, but really it's just because when your party says to go ahead with some stupid, ridiculous, terrible infringement of our freedoms, you just do it. You just do it. And you don't even kick up a stink. You're not even going to open your mouths in the party rooms. You're not even going, and I was in a party room for 30 years. You're not even going to open your mouths in a party room. And the people that I selected to go into the ministry in Queensland were the people that did stand up in the party room, because I knew they were going to stand up when we went out in the public arena for the principles that they believed in. And, you know, we were born and birthed in freedom in our country, and we never had to fight for it like the Americans. You know, we never had to fight for it. They had to fight for it twice, actually. Freedom for the black people and freedom for themselves from pernicious rule from Great Britain. Whilst we're on the subject, I can't help but just mention, you know, we have a lot of growing up to do as a country. Any country that will put on their coin a foreign monarch says, A, you do not believe that all people are born free and equal, and B, you do not believe that we're a separate country. You cannot put a monarch of England on your coin and say that you're a separate country. He's not an Australian. And yet that's what you're going to do. And it's the same with freedom. You haven't grown up. You know, you're not like France or America or even Britain. You can criticise Oliver Cromwell if you like, but, you know, you can criticise the founders of the Magna Carta, Archbishop Langton, William, the Regent of England. You can criticise them, but you enjoy those freedoms. And remember, every freedom that you enjoy has been bought with the blood of hundreds of thousands of martyrs. And you come to this place and just fritter it away until you've got no freedoms left. And I use the example of my grandkids coming home. I mean, freedom? It's a free country. I would say Queensland would be the most unfreest society on earth. Now, Queensland is worse than the other states. We've had more moronic government for a longer period of time than the other states. So I would say that. And if you defy me, then you start the argument. You give me an argument. Here you are, taking away our right to privacy. And really, to some degree, I'd say it's the most powerful right that we still enjoy, is a right to privacy. Well, it's gone. Big Brother will be watching you every inch of the day. Face recognition in China, the leader in this area, the great leader is China, a country that's noted for its freedoms and respect for humanity. Yeah, they're the world leaders, and you'll get their technology from them, and they'll have, of course, access to your technology. So, Mr. Speaker, I stand up with a rage and fury in my soul. I lived in the freest country on earth, the state of Queensland, which during the great Theodore Labor governments for 40 years, outside of Brisbane, and take this as a point, you politicians, take this as a point, right? Theodore Labor, outside of Brisbane, won every seat, every election for 40 years. There's nothing like it I can find in human history for that, because he gave us great and wonderful freedoms. You could get a miner's right and you could go anywhere you liked in Queensland unless it was freehold land, and 95% of the land in Queensland is pastoral leases. So you could go anywhere that you liked. And all right, I might say that you let the cattle owner know that you're going on to his place, but that was an incredible freedom, that you could just go anywhere that you liked. And what a wonderful country. I could carry my rifle anywhere I liked. And for those of you who say, oh, that's a freedom you have to sacrifice for the security of the people. Well, in Queensland, we had 8 deaths with guns when we had no laws at all. I walked into a sports shop to buy a pair of socks and I saw an AK-47 rifle, so I bought the AK-47 rifle instead of my socks and threw it in the back of the car at the Gold Coast over Christmas, threw it in the back of the car, drove around all day with AK-47, 350 rounds of ammunition. We had 8 deaths with guns. In New South Wales, if we had 8 deaths, they should have 16. They didn't have 16, they didn't have 26, they didn't have 36. They had 38 deaths with guns, with very strict laws. Victoria, with draconian laws, had 54 deaths with guns. So taking away that freedom, what did it achieve? It achieved an increase in the number of deaths with guns. And that is the same in Europe, the same phenomenon occurs, and it's the same in America. And I absolutely love the arguments, because this is a story about freedom. This is about freedom. That's what we're talking about here. In America, they say, oh, terrible, deaths with guns is horrific. And yeah, have a look where they're occurring. North Dakota, South Dakota, oh, no, there's no deaths with guns in the last 2 years. Guess who's got the highest gun registration in the world? North Dakota and South Dakota. Washington, D.C., highest death rate with guns, where guns are almost banned. So, I mean, freedom, you are taking away our right to privacy, our right to freedom. And I don't know about other people in this place, but I've had to have very delicate negotiations to head off some very harmful strikes, and in other cases, to turn on some very harmful strikes to get rights for our workers and people that were working in very dangerous conditions. Now, I don't want to see have anyone looking in on those discussions. Matters of sub judice, we're not supposed to interfere in the course of justice, but there would not be a person in this place that hasn't at some time pleaded the case where there's a great injustice occurring and tried to head it off. Well, now it'll be on the register and you will go to jail when you do those things, because interfering in course of justice is unlawful and a jailable offence. I could give you 100 examples of where your freedom is going to vanish. And it is not funny to say, you know, I'm from the government, trust me. And that's exactly what the 2 last ALP speakers were saying. We're from the government, you can trust us. You know, who would trust a government that has backed Gaza? I mean, would you trust those people? Like, they're justifying the murder of 1,200 innocent people with no provocation whatsoever. And they're out there barracking for Gaza. Would you trust that government? I wouldn't. Would you trust a government that has closed mines and intends to close all of the coal mines in Queensland, putting
Order. The member's
50,000
time
people
has
out of work? Would you
expired.
No.